Hello! So today's video will be somewhat writing adjacent and fandom adjacent because I'll be addressing at this point, somewhat current event. So by this point in time, it's become pretty common knowledge that the famous, or infamous, depending on what circles you run in, author famous for writing Vampire, Gothica, Anne Rice has passed away due to complications of a stroke, or so I've been able to gather from articles on the internet. So this has me feeling a way that is hard for me to articulate, but I'll have to go into why this gives me complicated feelings. So firstly, I will state this outright. I am not her fan. Her stuff just doesn't appeal to me. It's just not my cup of tea. I can understand why some people would like it. A friend once tried to get me into it a long time ago, and I've watched both the movie adaptations, one better than the other, and that's just about it. So mostly I was neutral on Anne Rice's stuff, but then there is how she treated fandom. Now, she's not the only author to have ever not liked fan works being done of her stuff. George R. R. Martin has famously gone on record not liking it. And you know what? They're okay. It's all right for them to not like people making fan fiction. It's just, they have to accept that that's a thing that happens. They don't have to like it, but they have to understand that fandom is a thing. If they didn't want their stuff to be fanfics, they shouldn't have published it. I'm just saying. So, free to not like that we do this, but on the other hand, trying to stop us will cause nothing but animosity. And that's something actually Anne Rice did. I entered fandom just in the aftermath of some of the purges she caused with being litigious and going after fan websites, fan archives, fan works of her Vampire Chronicles books. Because of her going after these small creators with lawyers and lawsuits, it frightened and traumatized a whole generation of fan writers to the point that even though I was in a fandom far removed from the Vampire Chronicles, almost as far removed as you can get, anime fandom practically is where I was, as far removed as you can get, we wrote disclaimers. And I wrote disclaimers because I could tell, like, there's almost this palpable taste of paranoia and fear in internet fandom at that time. I didn't know why we were doing it, I just knew that we did it. So I copied my fandom elders, so to speak. Little 13, 14-year-old me copied them because seeing all these disclaimers say, please don't sue me, terrified me. And again, the terror was almost palpable in internet fandom. So because I didn't go on forums, it took me a very long time to find out what happened. And something else was, even before I knew what Anne Rice had done, I was on ff.net, and they have this list of works they will not archive fanfiction for, and authors whose works they will not archive fanfiction for. At the very top of the list, and I think that's why they did it by first name, alphabetical order, was Anne Rice. At the time, I was like, okay, I don't read her stuff anyway. Cool. But I digress. So, because of what she did, I am feeling away. I found out about her passing not through memes on Tumblr or Twitter, but through friends posting on Facebook. And obviously they're actually fans of hers because they shared the post that her son had to write. And again, I feel bad for her family, sort of, in the way I can empathize with losing a loved one. But I didn't know the woman. So that's where I have this weird set of feelings going on because I despise her actions, but I'm neutral to her as a human being. Because beyond that, I never personally witnessed any of the stuff she did. What I have read are testimony of those she caused issues for. So, understand that while there are a lot of people who are going to be sad that she's gone because they were fans of hers, or most naturally her family and friends, fandom is kind of in this weird, muddled reaction. There are some who are sad because they're her fans too, but then there are others who are very, very not sad. So very, very not sad. To the point of being a bit flippant. And I have read their testimony, so I can't exactly say that what the reaction is a bad reaction because they were wronged, and a wronged person doesn't have to forgive the person who wronged them, and doesn't have to be the bigger person, I think, in this case, even though this is a person who passed. But she's the reason why fandom on the internet, I won't say that we almost went underground again, because fandom, modern fandom, and I want to address that a little bit, is very much out in the open the way it never was before. Before, it was, hey, you want a Star Trek tape? At a convention, or at a meetup. Or, hey, I got some Star Trek fanzines for you to read here. It was very, not quite cloak and dagger, but it was under the table. We used to have to do these things in person, so it was, on one hand, harder to get into fandom, but once you did, there are more physical, tangible ways of getting in. Be it tape exchange or zine subscription, you had to physically be part of fandom. Internet fandom was liberating in a way with email servers and other stuff, but people like Anne Rice proved that that wasn't always safe for us. It wasn't until stuff relaxed that people started getting more open with fandom, to the point where younger fan writers, you frighten me, because you are now taking fic commissions. As a somewhat fandom vet who came in just after what Anne Rice did, the nuclear fallout from her actions was in the air. Stop it. Stop your fanfiction commissions right now. Because what we operate in, our fair use gray area, transformative, yeah, that part saved us most of the time, but also non-commercial use. You doing your little fic commissions, you are playing with fire, and you're going to take us all down with you if you keep doing your little fic commissions. And you're like, oh, well, I only make a couple bucks here, a couple bucks there. You still need to stop, because we operate through the grace of IP holders being too darn busy to hunt all of us down. But Anne Rice proves that they will, if they feel the need, hunt us down. And so long as we don't profit from what we do, and as long as it's sufficiently transformative with what we do, we are playing within the legal safety zone that's still a little gray. Now, I'm not going to comment on fan art. I don't know enough about visual art and art copyright, but I do know is writing as a writer. So, yeah. Being in this open age where you can proudly say, well, yes, I do write fan fiction. No, I won't give you my URL or my AO3 or my fanfiction.net or etc. We also need to understand where we came from, because I think that fandom history is something that shouldn't be forgotten. So, in the case of the late Ms. Rice, may she rest in peace, but may we never forget what she did and keep the lessons close. Because the archive of our own will shield us from a lot. People doing stuff like taking fic commissions will just give them weapons to take us down, take down fandom, and cause a new era of fear. And while the Eldritch Mouse Corporation is currently wounded, they are also a vexatious litigiant. So that could be the next strike thing that happens, but that's why I'm bringing this up in the same video. Because fandom, we are not always safe. We have not always been as open. And it's a wonderful thing that we can be in the open now. Like, for the last 20 years, it's been so wonderful not to worry as much as we did in the 90s and the 80s and the 70s. Like, I think the 2010s and up now, we've been very comfortable being open. So I can still remember being early 2000s being kind of hush-hush with what we did. And that's when I joined, was early 2000s. But here and now, with us being so open to the point of almost poking the tiger, we exist in a gray zone. We always have. And that's ultimately humanity in general. We exist as shades of gray. Anne Rice, for all she did to fandom, including the trauma stuff and other things she did to people who gave her books bad reviews, I've got links down below for everything I've mentioned. She was a person. Flawed in her actions, but ultimately a person. And that's life. There's grays, There are no absolutes of beyond death and taxes, except maybe student loan debt these days. So, really all I have to say on those two things. So, TLDR, well, TLDW. Anne Rice's passing reminds me of fandom history that is being forgotten, where we were not free to be as open and where we were in danger of being taken down by lawyers. And this is being forgotten, and people are getting a bit too bold with what they do in fandom. We need to learn our history, and we need to keep it in our minds.